I have told it that the first few chapters of Book and Black Righteousness was a bit slow and boring. However, being an inherent familiar for most of me fellow, I've come to realize that understanding a person's upbringing and beliefs is crucial to truly understanding him. So, included a person who doesn't take time to understand another is class-minded and lacks understanding, which is the first step towards wisdom. While any of us to take a way of thinking is thinly weighted. With that being said, I'm almost done with Book and only 4 more chapters and I'm excited to finish it for you. If you've listened to it, please let me know by your likes and thoughts in the comments below. Also, I would really appreciate it if you can subscribe to my channel. With Book Black Love, you will automatically post it and see reach and to subscribers. Cash Sovereignty Hulet Black Love. Lastly, I've started a new Facebook page at Facebook.com Sovereignty. Help me finish my series by donating it. Cash App, Laura Bullen. PayPal, Lodge Bullen. Venmo, Ajani Bullen. Thank you again for listening and please let me know if you have any feedback or any suggestions for me. Lo James Bullen. Now, let's finish the story. Chapter Haya and Suffered Assassin. The next day was the beginning of challenging and rigorous training for the number of warriors that had used to join the Nufan family. It was as if the wedding had happened. Often the faith Jonathan and Jay were smiling at each other throughout the day. The hours, days, and weeks had passed, and before long, 3 months. The man and woman performed Jin, read the Torah, and learned the weaponry and faith in techniques of winning equivalent of warriors. Each warrior named their rock after him was for competition purposes, and trained their rocks just as hard as winning it had taken them. Some, like Abby and Daniel, tried even harder. Daniel named his group the Dragons, Obis group the Boars, John was the Titters, Jonathan. Now called Ovid, Kibalvis, Elisha, Black Mamba, Elijah, Apis, Grace, Praying Mantis, Jug, Scorpions, and Murky were contenders. Frail competitions lasted months, and finish all, they were tied by winning it for 3 months so to fit as a team instead of separately, learning facility, VSCE, and understanding the meaning Fakumbi. MP, and UA. And, of course, finally, pointed to you. A total of 9 months had passed, and Sabaf was pleased with his pupil's progress. They were 71st run. When Enoch woke up early on Sunday morning around and stopped by the thinking about his family laws in and all the things had been dragged since he left, when he noticed Nerissa approaching him. Nerissa was here as he spoke to when Enoch Cabal learned some from his Gordoli, but my face is confused, and he feel much pain, because he didn't know who I am. When Enoch was mad, have you ever wondered if he picked you to train by me said, you are a man of conviction, a humble man, selfless, and someone with such characteristics, can and will, always be the leader. Now, he don't know if he can say anything to comfort you, but he can tell you if his self-esteem or self-worth can help that feeling disappear. You need to find out who you are as a person, and love yourself. You love yourself, nothing else matters, and you will eventually find everything you need in life. Family and ancestry are an important part of life, and you didn't have one. You were born a slave, and lived as on all your life, you can only imagine your pain. Face that pain, deal with that reality, and move on, me. Friend. For many years, my ancestors were slaves just like you were, but that was back when this country was first formed as the United States. When Enoch took a seat in the ground, followed by Nerissa as continued, years after slavery, our people went through the pace, uptight self-destruction, self-hatred, and low self-esteem, and it nearly destroyed an entire generation of people. They started bleaching their skins, refusing to marry their race. Work was heartbreaking, but Sabbath stepped in and cured the hearts of his people. To be perfectly honest, the people, with this country tried to destroy, were the same people who led this country into salvation, but that's another story. Nerilos's size was intimidating, but his heart was as big as he was. Tears falling from his eyes, he looked at when Enoch you must have me past and confused about who I am. I understand the habit of forgiving myself. First, but it's hard. When Enoch said, transatlantic slave trade, or the Matha, man and great disaster, in Swahili, the Friction Holocaust, and some even called it Holocaust of enslavement, nevertheless say. Excusement. When Inekbo continued, they robbed many of our people of fair and strength. Pointing to himself and back to Nevertheless, or people. Nevertheless said, with a black look on his face, or people. When Inekbo said, look on this, what have many nationalities to surround us at this location, loving in peace. What are in it with uncommon enemy, the Albanians, who are not of this world. But centuries ago, all black people like us, were brought to this country in the transatlantic slave trade, and thus already here were taken as slaves. All this took place across the Atlantic Ocean for 400 years. African men, women, and children were in adolescent from Sunny Bay and Windward Coast. Slave traders later mounted their operations to West Central African of the Kingdom of the Kanwad neighboring Angola. West Africans sold West Africans from the central and western parts of the continent to European slave traders. Then, the Europeans became familiar with the territory and started capturing and selling themselves to the Americas. They took slaves to the Caribbean, South America, especially Brazil, then to North America because the South Atlantic economic system centered in producing crops and making goods and clothing to sell in Europe. This alone increased the numbers of African slaves needed. This was crucial to fast Western European countries competing to create overseas empires. They said Portuguese were the first to engage in the slave trade, but for instance Portugal started, and others soon followed suit like the British, the French, the Spanish, the Dutch Empire, and even the United States. Centuries later, millions of enslaved Africans were exported by the Red Sea for the soil ports of the Indian Ocean along the Trans-Saharan Caribbean route, and of course, the millions that were transported across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas. Ships departed Europe for African markets with manufactured goods such as cloth, liquor, tobacco, bees, cowrie shells, metal balls, and guns, which were traded for purchased or, shall we say, for kidnapped Africans. Who were transported across the Atlantic as slaves, the slaves were often sold or traded for raw materials and transported back to Europe. Nevertheless was upset, saying, "Will God be so heartless?" When Inekbo shook his head, even the educational system of the past, forth of this least for centuries until the invention of the internet, which all over people taught for the truth. But these hairless people were organized by companies or groups of industries rather than individuals, and ship owners considered slaves as cargo, not even human beings. Our people were transported to the Americas as quickly and cheaply as possible. Our revenge in the Americas to be sold to labor in coffee, tobacco, cocoa, sugar, and cotton plantations, gold and silver mines, wheat fields, construction industry, cutting timber for ships, in-skilled labor, and as domestic servants. The first Africans imported to the English colonies were first-class civilians. Indentured servants or apprentices for life. They instead of freeing were illegal property of their owners, and children born to slave mothers were slaves. As property, the people were considered labor when it's sold in markets with offers and service. The business was so demanding that Portuguese established at the south as on the African coast, where they purchased slaves from local African leaders. The history books say that about 12 million to 20 million Africans were said to have been sold in the Americas, but the number purchased by the traders is said to be much higher. Of those numbers, millions were raped, murdered, and died before reaching their destination. Nevertheless stood for listing Indian Yahoo, as when Inekbo thought, when I worked him. When Inekbo considered himself an expert in history and enjoyed learning in Tashinibada continued, centuries after slavery ended, many names were given to blacks. The most popular names were Negros, Negroes, African Americans, and often illustrious names like Yabid, an Arabic term that means black, fat man and Middle Eastern immigrants to the United States is. Ace of Spades, African, for fussy unemployed or so-called lazy blacks. African, a combination of African and con. Afro, referring to their hairstyle. American, a combination of American and con. Angus, which was a black breed of beef cattle. App. And even apple, which has to do with hanging from a tree, because thousands upon thousands of our people were lynched, and most of them were business owners and women. Arth, a term for blacks because of their poor swimming abilities. Ashi, because when our skin gets free, it looks ashy. Aunt Jemima, Babon, Benjolates, and many more. It can go in an unmanly leadership for the right to be equal in fiscality, but to no avail. Black certified in every what Americans had ever. 5. Despite that, we were still treated in such a shameful way. Men, women, and children were raped, murdered, and it until European descendants realized that violence wasn't the way, so they created psychological warfare, which was facing in the cake. Jim Crow's later skin versus darker skin, woman against the men, and children against the parents almost created genocide amongst our people. On top of that, this cult of prison people and whereby 70% of us locked up were blacks. The prison led donated behavior in that was started men plotting and taking advantage of each other. You had false black preachers, con pimps, in the pulpits, who will take advantage of long black women, passing many not to believe in Sabbath. Women started dating even right about here on in front of black boss and men day in disrespecting their black sisters at an unheard of level, even by today's standards. Many turned to homosexuality, and even murdered on an offer. Suffered almost called every black person in this country in first days. Suffered is like a telling Sabbath, he didn't know what he was doing, when he radio. Therefore, Tillman, suffered is a sin. When in it noticed the sun rising, look at him. When in it belied, every talked you rough, but when it rest. Nerlusa was not sleepy and wanted him to continue. Never heard of us words like nigger, but it feels so much better. Just listening to you speak about our history, please, you must continue. When in it was said. They used to look at in San Cadi now, but I'm always happy to teach, and I'm still learning more about history myself. But Mag, later today, we can talk even more, after I get some rest. When in it had slept on them, as he walked out of the tent, Nerlusa and Effie Wakatilians were waiting for him to come out of infester. On a few woman standing there had already prepared a meal for him, and his modern bowed to the young lady, in just as eager to tell you what it know. As well, thank you. After a few bites, had passed Nerlusa half of his plate, have some. Nerlusa shook his head, no, thanks, Evil radiating. When Enoch preferred his plate to a few more men, and Theo rejected it, but thanked him. When Enoch put up a few more bits and asked, how far are you into her? Theo shouted different bulks, Daniel. Isaiah, Matthew, Proverbs, when Enoch said, Godinag. Taking a drink and sitting. On the ground, few men followed. Ok, we stopped at the transatlantic slave trade. Fate took our identity and culture away from us and fit us loose for centuries. You need to backtrack a bit. It all started right here in the tour. Let's start after the flood. For instance, Noah and his wife, 3 sons, and their wives were general people Sev. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From the 3 sons of Noah, the entire planet was repopulated. According to history, they are crested on Mount Ararat, in the land of Armenia, which is located north of what is said to be called Iran, east of Turkey, and south of Georgia. Pulling up a map, on his tablet with difficulty, Ikkasim is still not that good with this, just now learning this technology, since he left home. Pulling up 3 maps of the earth. The pointed to the first one, this is Sophia locked at this time. During the age of Noah, it was in massive rock called Pangaea. Armenia was located here. Now up to this point, the interplanet spoke on language. Most of the people dwelled in an location called the Valley of Shinar located here. Men began to bow that tower up to heaven. An ancient Jewish historian, Flavius His, said, God also commanded them to send colonies abroad to repopulate the earth, but the people did not obey God. They say Nimrod, the Ethiopian, held the people under his dictatorship. When they were building the tower, Fate was the same Tower of Babel, of course. God disapproved of its construction because it saw disbelief in his word to go out and replenish the earth, he confessed men's language and scattered them to the 4 corners of the earth. When Enoch would take a few seconds to think and then said, it only makes sense. That those who understood each other left with onion of her. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. As I mentioned before, so men were classified as Semites, Hamites, and Japhethis, and not Chakasud, Mongolod, or Negroid. Fansints, including the Greeks and Romans, and if it people according to their national or tribal names. Phase the Visigoths, Vandals, Saxons. Ethiopians, Carthaginians, Jews, Arabs, Persians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Moors, If. Namen people by race except and later in Europe, certain Germans and others consider the Thessalus Babylonian toll. When Enoch registered with his fingers, a superior race, men like Jahan Blombeck, Jacobina, and Skimberlin, who were the first to divide humanity based on skin color, went to delve into the supremative to lead race, and its culture. Racism cast millions of deaths and thousands of wars. Race classification set of Caroline, designed to create hatred, which was more like envy. Anyway, in getting kind of the subject, which is a subject all by itself. Let's just say many people will look like this head to in our history game because this point this is about how we were for centuries. Taking down the first map and pointing to the second and third maps. When in the state, physical maps are really what I want you to pay attention to. The first map is what the plant looked like during the beginning of creation. Preparing a bay into breakup, some people had different themes when this happened, but for a tectonic plate movement, cast by mental conviction, and just as the Panga was formed from effectively from red zones, it also generated this supercontinental separate. Ego's state was when the people separated during the Tower of Babel and it looked pretty much like this map here, and since the Habanians came now, it pretty much looks like in its sandwich. By looking at the first map, you'll know where these places are located. Today, some don't exist anymore, and now most humans just live on the equator. Anyways, as he was saying, parts of the earth inhabited by the southern ocean were parts of the territory of Assyria and a lot more simple Persia east of the Tigris River, the eastern part of Syria, and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. The second classification of humanity was the Hamites, well controlled. The great centers of civilization in ancient time soon after the flood. This civilization included the continent of Africa, the land of Canaan or Israel, and parts of Arabia, Syria, Phoenicia, Turkey, Babylonia, southern Persia or Iran, East Pakistan, and India. And the third classification of humanity was the Japhetes, from Japhet, the youngest son of Noah. The offspring of the Athakibid was known as the source of the Gentiles, the short territories of the Mediterranean Sea in European parts of Asia Minor, for the immigrant northward of the entire continent of Europe and the prominent part of Asia. Japhet's descendants traveled west, north, and northeast of the mountain of Ararat and the Caucasus Mountains. When Enoch looked up and noticed that the head at Rekid in almost crowded interval listing as a continent, Gomer was the ancestor of the first Sumerians and the later Zimbabwe, including author of thoughts of the Saudic family and the Gauss of Ireland, Scotland, and the Hebrides lands. Second son of Japhet was Magog, the father of the Medoites. Flavius Josephus, remember take name. For he was a great Jewish historian, and the said that Greeks called his people Scythians. Scythians included all the wandering tribes who dwelt north of the Black and Caspian Seas. Phoenicians regarded them as tremendously lacking in intelligence and civilization. Japhet's third son, Made, is the father of Hamites. They were located in the southern part of the Caspian Sea and later lived with the Persians to form one race. From Javan, the fourth son of Japheth, came the Ionians and all the Greeks. Tubal, the fifth son of Japheth, is associated with Javan, Meshech, and Tubal, which are nations of the north. The last son of Japheth was Jeres, the father or ancestor of the Thracians. This land, Thrace, was north of Turkey, Asia Minor, and northeast of Greece. Japheth's grandson, Aspenes, formed the Germanic race. In Hebrew, the name Aspenes means German. The Germanic tribes were an Amharic people. They were Lombards, Burgundians, Franks, Saxons, Anglos, Judas, Ostrogoths, Visigoths, Slavs, and Vandals. Tessa 10. Germanic barbarian tribes settled all over Western Europe. All of his tribes were the descendants of Japheth. The Europeans did not have any great civilization immediately after the fall of Greece and Rome. During the Middle Ages, the black nations of Africa and Asia had the most remarkable political, economic, educational, and military influence in the world. At this time, Europe existed in a state of darkness for 1,000 years. The earliest civilizations began in North Africa and the Middle East among the black race. When Enoch was interrupted by Elijah, who had probably about 10 miles away approaching our location and fought, from the south heading this way, when Enoch was molded near Lissar, who will continue with us later, but let me say this, never believe everything that he say, look it up, and always read for yourselves, the truth is out there, and never trust word of man, research for yourself at electron theology. Well, this is 10 years life to find whether it only makes sense, but let's see if they are friendly or followed by the way. As I slowly walked away, Antoine realized, your name, Neriliser, is a Babylonian name. Pharaoh was a prince named Neriliser, also known as Neriliser, who was a leading prince in the court long before. Says it a friend. He entered Jerusalem with the armies of Nebuchadnezzar and held the post of ruling with the Copine armies. He didn't know the meaning of Romag, but he believed it is some kind of a police office. Anyways, Neriliser was one of the princes of the king of Babylon, because the Torah said, and he said intimidated Jerusalem, which served as center of government for the Babylonians before they destroyed the city. Neriliser honored also released the prophet Jeremiah from prison and entrusted him into the hands of Delali. He married the daughter of Nebuchadnezzar and, for that reason, considered himself a legitimate successor to his throne. Albeit his injured grab, on city Guaniniku, got into her sin soul rid of two runners as they continued to walk toward him. An old man disturbed to his followers to stop as he spoke to Guaniniku, evening, my friend. My name is Raphael, pointing to the members of his company. This is my wife, Letitia, my sons Jan, Miguel, Fernando, and Alejandro, my daughters, Josephine and Sylvia, and my face Jose and John. Were Guaniniku, already intimating, quickly shut Jan and Jose without a word. Guaniniku then said to the old man, your enemies are now dead. Please tell me what they were planning to do to you, and your family. The old man was still in a state of shock. How How did you know? Guaniniku smiled. Let's just say, he saw it ahead of him. Plus, your formation was all wrong. We'll put still a loop front. The old man replied, they were going to sell us as slaves because of a debt owed by my son, Jim. We're from Chihuahua, Mexico, but they forced to do to reserve the lot for Janus, awaiting some intelligence, but they didn't make it, so they forth. We still walk when they didn't show up. We have not eaten in 2 days and every week. When Guaniniku blocked it up in so his head, my friend, take these people back to camp, feed them, and make them as comfortable as possible. To spend it with a Kentucky horse. One of them got down off his horse. No, one of them can't take men. 4 Mormons stepped down, allowing the rest of Raphael's family to take their horses. Obered off as Guaniniku and Philemon walked back towards camp. Neriliser and John were later seen approaching him with the more horseless than sick Milisawi, not alone with a big heart, you see. Sighed Neriliser. Smiling, Guaniniku said, no, you're not. And I just bet you wanted to bring the sources out of the goodness of your heart. Neriliser lied, yeah. Plus, you're a busy man, and no one is training today. So, I was talking to myself. I said, hey, self. You know wait. You figured we could learn some more about our history, if we take Guaniniku to some horses. Guaniniku, lashing, glowed and swore. Getting in the horses, the small crop headed toward camp. Guaniniku, trying to remember where they had left off. Well. We come told Sumerians, Babylonians, and Ethiopians well. Worry black people. Guaniniku stopped for a moment as he looked at Offerman. Sorry, he went to go ahead, sorry. Face up their heads and listened dead into the yes well. Well, this man contributed much to the advancement of civilization. Because they studied astrology, they were capable of formulating many principles of astronomy. These black people were so intelligent that they could divide the years into months, weeks, hours, minutes, and seconds. In mathematics, they developed a decimal system. The most famous Babylonian king was Amharic, even the prophet adopted his laws and met with him to the Greeks, Romans, and other Europeans. The literature of the Babylonians is fascinating. Long ago, these black people brought with sharp instruments and clay tablets. Thousands of these tables had been found, with this lost popular work known as the Middle of creation epic. The story of how the world began derived from the Babylonians. After the dispersal of humanity at the Tower of Babel, the black Hamites migrated toward the east, south, southwest, and west. These black Hamites settled in the land of Canaan, later to be called Israel by the Hebrews. The land of Canaan gets its name from the youngest son of Ham, Wow Western. We may call them Africans because of their blood relationship to offer an evidence of the African continent. 11 Canadian tribes were living in the land of Canaan and surrounding it before the Black Israelites possessed it. Arriving at the camp, when Enoch locked it in sir. Now, Fennec Tin will have it in the talk. He went here to tell me something about our history and also tell me something that happens in history outside of the Torah. Giving Nerlusser his tablet, take this, I'll get an offer on from Jonathan or Elisha. Let's say in 2 weeks or so, but right now, you need to do a few things, before you see about our friends that just arrived. For harsh had passed since when Enoch had seen Raphael and his family, and the figure they were bolstered in south have eaten by now. When Enoch talked and he had walked into the tent unto it. Seeing Raphael and his family, all were asleep except Raphael and his son Jam, both had could tell it while the land before. They well sleep. When Enoch whispered, help Ellis well with your family, and Hesavine had plenty to eat. Raphael replied, all is well, and we thank you for your hospitality. When Enoch dismount, no problem. Is he yo, and you're surrendered and sleepy. Please take your Timmy and make yourself at home. We will talk in the morning unless you need to report to me any such. Denders, that we need to be aware of. Raphael said, didn't know of any. As when Enoch was walking out to bed them farble on it, Jim said, wait. Handing when Enoch a piece of paper, Jim said, you need to see this place. Because many people dress like you are sent for by the hundreds. Maybe even thousands, every month on a spaceship. It only comes in the middle of the night. Buffer wasn't feeling it already during daylight, it's a like no offer. Sip is a metallic wave that would rotate from 0 to 180 degrees back to 0, then quickly rotate to 360 degrees in about 5 seconds. It has multiple holes where you can see from the ship, and it doesn't seem like it's capable of carrying so many. He could do the pestle or shuddered or hidden intellects isn't that pepper. When Enoch walked down at pepper and read the numbers aloud. 020466. Jam continued, first an invisible walk with self-apartheid border like, north with the city of Tilcamar, Chile, Mexico. It's here guarded by Ebonians with about 3 or 4 plank satellites on the first of Eastern Love. When Enoch the West Koreas. Me Papo, has said. Jam said. Are you not Wakatilians? When Enoch with a peculiar lock, well, yes, I am. Only thing. Jam said. I never heard them speak English. It's an thing I'm not familiar with. When Enoch put the paper in his pocket, Yautwell, get some sleep, we will talk in the morning.